Thinking the same in your head as well is, why can't people just do their job without me having to ask them to do it? In the world of work, that's just not how it works. I want to hire people. I want to hire people that know what they're doing. I want to hire people that just get started and get going. The number one thing you have to get right is hiring the right person. My name is April Sabral. I'm an author of a book called The Positive Effect, the founder of Retail U, and a retail guru. I've been running retail stores for 3 decades. Actually, I was born into one. Yes, I was born into an antique shop back in the UK, and then ended up going into retail as a career that was not intentional, but after 3.5 decades, moved from being a store manager all the way to being a vice president of national and global brands. And I'm here to share tips and tricks, best practices, and help you with all the insight and information I've learned over the years to build an amazing retail business. The number one question that I'm always asked by every leader on this planet, really nearly all of them, and if you're watching this, you're probably thinking the same in your head as well, is why can't people just do their job without me having to ask them to do it? It's one of those things that's like, I want to hire people. I want to hire people that know what they're doing. I want to hire people that just get started and get going. And that sounds really great in an ideal world. However, in the world of work, that's just not how it works. So when I talk to companies, big companies, small companies, or even like small independent business owners, the number one thing you have to get right is hiring the right person. Yes. But the second thing that you have to get right once you've hired the person that you believe in is literally train them and set them up for success to do the job well. And that doesn't sound like, hey, April, that box over there needs to be put over there and go and do this. It doesn't sound like just telling people what to do. You really have to spend time setting clear expectations and letting them know exactly what you need to get done so that they understand what's expected of them. And when I'm working with groups of leaders, one of the biggest missteps is just that first step of setting somebody up with clear expectations. So what does setting people up with clear expectations actually look like? Well, it means that you need to communicate really well what you want them to do. And then number 2, have them validate back to you what they heard. It's like being married, right? When you're married, I don't know. I went to marriage counseling a very long time ago, and they taught me this very crucial skill. When my partner said something to me, the best response could be, this is what I heard, is this what you meant? And so that one question in itself is very good to validate with your team that they heard what you said. If you miss that step, guess what? You don't know if you're on the right page. You don't know if your person on your team actually understands well what you want them to do, and the expectations have not been set. Telling people what to do is not setting clear expectations. So think about that for a minute, and I want you to think about, like, in the last 48 hours when you were working with somebody on your team. Maybe you have a team of 5 people, maybe you're a small store owner, or maybe you're an executive of 3,000 people and you influence a big fleet of stores. When was the last time you set very clear expectations with somebody and had them validate back to you? And you literally said to them, this is what I heard you say, is this what you meant? Think about it. Have you said that? If you haven't, I would wager most definitely that they are off doing their own thing, and they're going to come back and you're going to wonder why are they doing that and what went wrong. So as leaders, we have to be very good at setting clear expectations. Once you've done that, then there's all the other things that come after that, which is, making sure that they're understanding what the consequences are if they don't achieve the goals. Now, whenever I do training with leaders, managers of teams, and I use the word consequences, they get freaked out because they're like, you're the positive leadership lady. Consequences is not a positive word, but it's very positive if you use it in the right context. When I was an assistant manager back in the day for Banana Republic, I had a store manager who was amazing. And she had this one conversation with me that changed the trajectory of my career. And if she hadn't said it to me in this way, I don't know if I'd be sitting here today where I am. So one of the conversations she had with me was literally one night I was closing the store And I really disliked all of the administration work. I was really good on the shop floor. I was really good with customers and coaching the team to make really good sales. And I used to look at the admin work, the banking log and all the closing checklists and all that stuff, like it was just a waste of my time. So I just never did it. And I remember her coming up to me one day and saying, "Hey, April, I want to have a conversation with you about all of your administration tasks that you have to get done." And she literally said, "If you don't get this done in the right way, when the promotion comes around for you to get promoted and take your own store, you just won't get it." That conversation was a 30-second conversation in my career that changed everything. Because why? I wanted to get promoted. I wanted to have my own store. She was honest enough with me to tell me, "Listen, if you don't do this, you won't get that." So that's all it is. That's what a consequence conversation looks like. And it's really, really positive if you do it in the right way with good intent, being honest, and sharing exactly what's going to happen if they don't meet the expectations. So that's another piece of advice I think that's really, really important. And I was just working on a presentation for an executive team this week, and I was literally looking at all the reasons why people don't like using the word accountability and holding people accountable. And it's because we just have a negative connotation with it. So I want you to flip that around, see it as a positive, because people love to work in an environment where everybody's held accountable, everybody's clear on what's expected of them, and so they can rise and meet to, whatever you're asking them to do. So that's really important. So I think hiring, setting clear expectations, and then also just understanding how to communicate what's going to happen if they don't meet them, right? That's really, really key. And just figuring out on your team who can do what. You don't have to do everything yourself. I know as a business owner, sometimes it may feel that way because you have to put energy and effort into coaching other people. But if you don't put energy and effort into coaching other people, guess what? You're going to be stuck doing everything yourself. So that's really, really important. So sometimes what I like to do is just look at all the work that I've got to get done and then look at everybody around me and see who could literally take on something as a stretch assignment to kind of, stretch them, grow their skills, maybe support them learn a new skill. And then that will help me just kind of get things off my plate. Sometimes it's really hard when you're managing people, right? Like it's really difficult. You're like a therapist, you're like their mom. You've got to get them to do things for you. You've got to get them to sell things and help customers. But, if you can learn how to manage people and understand these two things, then you'll be on your way. And there is 3 things that every employee wants from their boss, no matter how big your team or how small your team is or how many people you work with. Number 1, they want to know that you care about them, right? Everybody wants to know that they work for somebody that cares about them. Number 2, they want to know that they can trust you. So it means that you need to be walking your talk. You can't ask people to do things that you're not willing to do yourself. And number 3, they want to know that you're going to help them progress in their career and get better, right? So that's really, really important. So if you leave at the end of the day and you can say, "Yes, today I feel like I showed that I cared for somebody. I feel like I walked my talk. They can trust me. And I coached them and trained them and gave them some information that could make them be better at their job, then 9 times out of 10, they're going to stay with you." We need to ignite those positive emotions and build skills. We like to call that the positive engagement formula. So how do you ignite positive emotions? Well, it's those 3 things that I just shared, right? Care, trust, helping them be better at their job. And then building skill. Building skill is about training. It's about ensuring that they got everything that they need to know to be able to do their job. And if you can do that, it's going to translate into really positive customer experiences, which, guess what, gives you amazing sales. It's not rocket science, but it does take practice, and it takes a commitment from you as the boss, as their leader, to make sure that you're not just seeing your job as you just got to sell products. You've actually got to train, coach, and develop your team so that they can sell the product for you. I ran stores for over 25 years, and I could totally see when sales were really good in a store and when sales were not so good in a store, the impact of the leadership in that store. If we had a leader that was engaging, exciting, knew how to coach their team, knew how to train the team, then usually the sales would be up. If we had a leader that was negative and didn't have all of those skills and didn't know how to coach their team, then the sales would be down, right? So it's not just about you. Yes, you might be the salesperson with the mostest, like the hostess with the mostest on the sales floor. But when you're running a retail store, it's really about the team. It's about how you get the team to maximize every interaction with every customer, and that comes from how you set them up with clear expectations. So do you have clear expectations around what your sales and service model looks like? Lots of times we see it when we go into smaller businesses that they just don't have the sales training and they don't have the sales model and the expectations clear. So what does that look like when a client walks through the door? Do your team know what to do? Do they know how to engage? Do they know how to greet? Do they know how to re-engage? Let's say the customer says, no, I'm just looking, I'm happy, I just want to be left alone. Do they know how to re-engage? Do they know how to re-approach? Do they know how to offer the product? Do they have product knowledge, right? That's so important. And do they know how to close that sale, build that sale, and also just make sure that they get that customer's information so that they can bring them in and build loyalty. It's super important. So there's so many steps that go into running a very successful retail store. But at the end of the day, if you're the owner or you're the leader, the manager of that store, it all comes back to you and how you lead. And do you have a positive effect on your staff, or do you not have a positive effect on your staff, really? Because there's 3 things you can do on a daily basis: ignite people positively, negatively, or neutral. And when you can do it positively, you're going to see the results that you actually want, right? Which is positive customer reviews, positive sales, and retaining your team. Top reasons why every retail store fails is: number 1, hiring staff; number 2, keeping staff. That's it. So many people talk to me about product, marketing, operational excellence, shipping, receiving, omni-channel, all of that. And all of that is really important. But if you can't hire people and you can't keep people, it doesn't matter what you do, you will not be able to build a successful retail store. So I always like to start with that. And I've been working in retail for 3.5 decades, and some people I've got it right and some people I've hired and they haven't worked out. I get asked that question all the time. How do I make the right hiring decision? Well, it's kind of a bit of a gamble, I've got to say. Some people interview really, really well, but there are questions you can ask, right? To make sure that you're doing your due diligence to create an even playing game for everybody that's going through your interview process. But I would ask you as well, how are you posting the job? If you're not getting the right people you feel walking through the door looking and applying for a job, then maybe you have to go back to the actual job posting that you've put in place and ask yourself, have you really outlined exactly what you're looking for, right? Because that's the start, where people see the job posted. So I would start with that. Is the job posted? Do you have the right requirements on it? Have you written the description of what you want? Then if you feel like you've done that well and now people are walking through the door and you still feel like you're not getting the right people, well, maybe you're not asking the right questions, right? So we have a really amazing interview guide, and it really walks you through literally telling you what questions to ask, how to discover what people have done. But think about it, right? Most people are Googling what questions will I be asked in an interview, and then they have standard answers of how to do it. And a lot of people spend a lot of time always getting ready for interviews. But how long have you spent getting ready to really interview the person that's coming and showing up? Maybe they spent 8 hours, I don't know, calling a friend, Googling, practicing with somebody. And maybe you're not in the right mindset because you've spent 10 minutes just scrambling around before that interview to get ready. So that's another thing that I always would challenge you with. Think about how much time you've put into the job posting, what the job description looks like, and then also the questions that you're getting ready to ask. The people deserve that, right? They deserve your time and they deserve you to get ready for them. So once you've gone through that process, asking really good questions, taking notes, and asking them to sell you something, right? Maybe you've got a pair of glasses like this and you're gonna say to them, hey, like, I'm in your store, like this is a pair of glasses, sell them to me. Have them sell you a pair of glasses. Listen, you work in a retail store, right? You wanna know if the person walking through the door can actually talk to a customer, sell something, talk about features and benefits, right? Maybe you're hiring somebody that's never worked in a retail store before, but maybe they've done online marketing. You don't know what people have done in the past. So it's not always about retail experience, but it's literally how does that experience that they've had translate into helping customers. So get your process down pat, and and then you're going to have to go with a gut feeling sometimes. It's going to be literally, how do I feel about this person? Is their vibe right? And just remember as well that people are really nervous when they get interviewed. One of my top tips for interviewing people is always to ask the person at the end of every interview, is there something that you want to tell me that I didn't ask you about today? That gives them an opportunity to share. It also gives you an opportunity to listen and hear something that's from them that maybe isn't guided by a question of you, and it gives you a bit of a gauge on how engaged they are and who they are as a person. So I like to ask that, and it really opens up the room for people to share maybe what you hadn't asked them, because people only give you answers to the questions you ask. So that's really important, to make sure you open up that space. And again, like I said, it's a gamble, right? But when you hire the right person, you will start to see it just kind of build like the universal energy. I don't know what it is. It like attracts like, and it just kind of a vibe, and it brings people to you. But you have to train them. You have to invest. People don't walk through the door knowing exactly what to do. After running retail stores for 3 decades, I can tell you that training and setting them up for success is going to be your biggest success if you can do that. And just throwing somebody on the floor is not that. So do you have all your training pieces in place? That's really, really important. Sometimes it's hard, but you know what? You can do it. I know you can. And if you can, you're going to build a fantastic team that you'll be proud of.